What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. So we are finally here. The Survivor 50 premiere happened on Wednesday night. We got the first episode of this incredible season that is a celebration of 25 years of Survivor, 50 seasons now overall going into it, and we've waited quite a long time for this. We got this cast list, obviously with all returners, back last May, end of last May. We got the cast list revealed to us before they went out and filmed. And yeah, so since then, a lot of theorizing, kind of who we thought would vibe with each other, how the season would go, and whatnot. And obviously, this is Survivor 50 in the hands of the fans. So we got to vote, a while back on different elements in the game and whatnot to keep the players on their toes. They're going to be on their toes all season long. So a lot to look forward to. And listen, as I said, this is a celebration of the last 25 years of Survivor, 50 seasons now overall. We got 24 castaways out there in 26 days. So if you're doing the math, that's just about almost a survivor being eliminated every single day of this game. I know not exactly, but you get the idea. It's going to be a very fast-paced game. Expect a lot of crazy twists and turns. I expect some. We usually have at least one. I expect more, double elimination tribal councils or maybe split tribals and, two tribes going to tribal council as you might imagine, or a split tribe going to two separate tribal councils, whatnot. I believe it's going to be crazy out there. Can't wait to see how all the returning players out there, obviously, but then also I'm curious to see what the fans have voted for. I know what I voted for in, some of these questions and whatnot. So we're going to get right into it. Super excited to be recapping another season here of Survivor on the channel. Got my Jeff Probst shirt on, and we are ready to get this thing rolling. But before we do jump into this first episode, if you could just hit that like and subscribe button down there. We'll have more Survivor 50 content on the channel all season long. We'll be here every single Thursday morning with a recap of Wednesday night's episode. So just make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a video. But with that being said, let's just jump right in. And we get this incredible flashback that we actually got to see about a day prior, 2 days prior. And it's kind of just some iconic moments dating back to that very first season of Survivor, and just kind of some other iconic moments throughout the years that we get to kind of have a nice flashback from. And it goes right to the boat of the Survivor 50 contestants coming into their marooning, coming to the beach with Jeff, and chills, absolute chills as the players are getting off the boat, coming to join Jeff. Obviously not divided into tribes or anything yet, but Mike White has the first major quote that we've seen in the trailer as well, but still first time hearing it in the episode, saying that this is like a high school reunion meets a massacre. So nice first quote off the beach there. Jeff goes into his opening monologue. 751 players have played this game, and these are the 24 players that have been chosen for Survivor 50. And then Mike White, again, delivering the quotes right off the bat, delivers the episode name, saying that he has a lot of major FOMO and would have major FOMO if he wasn't out here. Didn't want to hear about it from Angelina and Christian, who he obviously played with on his season. But he said that it was going to be an epic party. There's the name of the first episode for you. Talking to Sari and Jenna and all these legends, just kind of incredible to see them on our screens again. Obviously, Jenna coming all the way back from the first season of Survivor, and then obviously kind of a full circle moment. Cool seeing Savannah and Rizzo, obviously having just finished 49 as well, literally within 2 weeks from going out there to film this. So nice little bookends there. Sari, when she's talking, she gets emotional. We can see Ozzy emotional as well. But we move in, get our tribe divisions, and we get this thing rolling. And now, the big question was, the first questions we get answered with the fan votes. Will you start with Rice or not? Well, the vote was 53 to 47. Pretty close. And Jeff gives them a nice little tease that you're not going to start the game with Rice. So you're not starting the game with Rice. And then what about tribe supplies? Well, it was 60 to 40 that you have to earn your tribe supplies as well. So the fans clearly voted not to make this easy, although I do have to say for these, I believe I did vote for, I know for sure I voted for them to get Rice. I believe I voted for tribe supplies as well. That's how I voted, but clearly the majority did not. With that being said, we head into our marooning challenge. Winner gets Flint and a massive bonfire waiting back at their camp. And we just get into the challenge. The first one of the season is for Vatu, which is the pink tribe. Now everyone has to choose one person to go fight for the supplies. Now the tribe that won, they just got their flint. They still don't have a pot, a machete. Like they don't have these supplies. So Coach and Ozzy are the first two to be chosen, or that step up. Q is coming to battle as well. So Coach Nazi, nice little throwback to Survivor South Pacific and their kind of rivalry that started at the beginning there and going through. Kind of see more of it talked about in this episode about what happened at that final tribal council with Ozzy kind of pitching for Coach not to win the million there and that kind of beef, I guess, if you will. But the Pink Tribe arrives at their beach. Nice big bonfire. They, quick chat with everyone, but then get to work on fire and shelter. Colby says that Rizzo is annoying and questions his work ethic even, and even calls him a possible liability. But the Teal Tribe gets to work as well over on their beach, and D says, if you think I was cutthroat on 45, wait till you see season 50, D. Mike White has a set of abs now, I guess. So I guess hitting, I think Christian called it out later in the episode, but hitting that White Lotus gym. Orange Tribe, right to work as well, but I am shocked that Savannah tells them that she won. And it was kind of, I don't know that's just how it was edited or framed, but kind of an awkward moment. She's like, so how do you guys think I did? And it was kind of just silent, and she said, I won. So I'm surprised, but she said that she was doing it to prove that she's an open book. But she said that she will leave out how she won 4 individual immunity challenges, which I do think that's smart. I also just would have probably, they knew ahead of time, Savannah and Rizzo, that they were coming in to this game. So I would have maybe talked about that beforehand if they could kind of deflect it or come up with some story. But then these players are obviously smart up there. They'll see D out there. They'll see Kyle out there, knowing there's 2 other winners. There's 1 on each tribe. There's got to be a winner on this tribe, so they would assume that it's Savannah. But they could have came up with some crazy story that, yeah, the person who won, whatever, just wanted to retire, wanted to win, didn't have any interest in playing again, blah, blah, blah. But I am surprised that she said something, but Savannah tells them that she won. Jenna is here to play, though. Wants to play a new era type fast game and wants to target Suri early on. Tells Savannah this, tells Joe this, tells Christian this. Now, over at the challenge, the Ozzy Coach and Q arrive to compete for those supplies, and Ozzy tells Coach that he should have done more to help him win South Pacific because he thinks he should have won. And they kind of squash that beef right off of the boat. But we get into the challenge. Ozzy, after 45 minutes, says whoever gets it off first gets it. We see, him get close a couple times, and, everyone's getting close but not getting it off. And Q comes close, and we hear Ozzy even say, like, oh, Q, if you get it off, I won't stop you, like whatever. But then Ozzy is the one who gets it off. But Coach, and we see him in a confessional say, like, I'm keeping my mouth shut, like, whatever, because I want to get the thing and get the supplies. So Ozzy does get it off, and then he sees Coach go after it. Q kind of doesn't at first because, hey, this was just a conversation we had. But Coach's going after it, so then Q gets in there, then they're all doing it. Coach pulls it out, and Ozzy goes to grab it, and Coach grabs it right from underneath him. Ozzy's a little sour afterwards, especially after that whole conversation they just had, and then, and Ozzy's like, well, he said he wanted to play an honorable game, and, the Coach stories that he always spews out there that he's going to play an honorable game and not going to do X, Y, and Z, clearly still is that player, which that's fine. That's how he wants to play. But I just always hate I'm going to play an honorable game. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. It's a game. I don't think it's that. But yeah, it's just always just contradicting himself 95% of the time he's out there. But once Coach gets his supplies and leaves, Ozzy and Q have a note to open, and it says, "Welcome to Exile Island." They have to spend the night there till tomorrow. But Coach arrives back at camp, the hero with supplies, and Chrissy says to Coach that Dee's a red flag because she's won the money, and seems like Chrissy wants to work with Coach. Christian tells Devins about Jenna trying to work up a vote to get Suri out. Devin's already searching for an idol too, but Devins really wants to work with Christian and play with Christian. Thankfully, Christian wants to play with him as well, and a bromance has begun, maybe. But Devin wants to work with Emily too. So there's a solid 3 originally right there. And over at the Vatu Beach, the Pink Beach, Colby and Kyle talk, and they want to play with Genevieve and Stephanie as well. We obviously know Colby and Stephanie had a connection before. They came in wanting to work together. Kyle and Genevieve seem to have kicked it off from the beginning as well, so they just want to get a fifth to have the majority there. Kyle thinks Genevieve is the most dangerous player on the beach, like he said he thought Camilla was in 48, so wants to work with her and have her on his side. So there's a solid 4 there. Genevieve and Aubrey talk, and really kind of an interesting convo, I guess, if you will. Genevieve tells Aubrey that she thinks she's dangerous, but there's some weird vibe. Aubrey thinks that Genevieve is calculating and that they look at the game the same way, that she might have to cut her before Genevieve cuts her. But yeah, I don't think Genevieve and Aubrey are going to be sharing many stories by the bonfire. Yeah, just kind of a weird interaction there. Over at Exile Island, though, it was a rough night, but the boats get there. There's 1 supplies. The trick here is there's 1 supplies. One person's going back to camp with supplies. The person that goes back to camp with the supplies will not have their vote. Basically, you have to trade your vote. It's not, I mean, you're essentially losing your vote, but they're just framing it a different way. Essentially, the person who goes back to camp without their supplies will have an extra vote that you sold. I forget whatever word they use, but you're selling your vote, essentially, for the supplies. Ozzy is able to give Mitch Q for Q to take the supplies and for Ozzy to have more power to get the extra vote. Q arrives to a thunderous applause with the surprise. He tells them about the challenge, and then he comes up with a good lie to kind of get out of it, I guess, if you will, that he doesn't have a vote. He said there was a challenge with coconuts on the beach, like 50 coconuts or something, and he got that. But then he really does want to work with Kyle, so he tells Kyle afterwards that he doesn't have a vote at the first tribal council. Kyle thinks that he'll fit in with the 4 already, that's already established, so a nice little majority already forming there. Ozzy returns with nothing, and Christian is trying to use everyone's glasses to start a fire shortly thereafterwards. They get smoke, and they do start a fire, so always an iconic moment the few times that has happened on Survivor. So they don't have flint, but they still are able to get fire. Christian does have a secret weapon, which we saw in some of the preseason interviews. 6 weeks prior to coming out to Survivor, he had a son. So he has a true north and motivation out here, knowing that his son will watch this eventually and wants to make him proud. Over at the Orange Tribe, Cirie and Devins talk, and Devins tells her that Jenna is throwing her name out already. Cirie tells Ozzy this, and they seem like they'll maybe be able to play together this time, and Ozzy knows that Cirie has a better mind for strategy, so he wants her to be his number 1. So much so that he tells her about his extra vote. Over at the Pink Tribe, Rizzo is announcing this fashion show they're running, just kind of a fun moment they have out there. But Colby says that I judge Rizzo too quickly. He's fun, and he's actually the same age Colby was the first time that he played. That's why Colby kind of connects with him there, and they have a chat, and Colby tells Rizzo, like, I know you're coming off just playing, but if you're ever feeling down, like, come talk to me. And Rizzo says that it means a lot. Said it feels like, my dad coming to talk to me or something like that. But over at the Teal Tribe, morning yoga session going on with Jonathan, Mike, and Coach. Jonathan is trying to be more strategic this time out. We heard his stories about how Boston Rob trained him, and he talked with Boston Rob about the game, and last time he was really more just physical, but this time he wants to add that strategic element too, it seems like. Throws D's name out there to Mike. So don't like that as a major D fan, but knew it would happen as a winner coming in. We got Coach saying, I will never write your name down on day 3. Dee, Tiffany, and Camilla talk, and they say this could be a fun 3, and I strongly agree with that as well. If you watch my preseason predictions or whatever, I mentioned them 3 in a possible alliance as well. So I really do hope that comes to fruition. But we head to the first immunity challenge. You're playing for not just immunity, but you're playing for a fishing kit, and then the second tribe to finish a smaller fishing kit. While you're going up the wall, Kyle falls down and or isn't able to get all the way up, comes down, hurts his ankle. We'll circle back more to this later. He's good to go, but they just got to figure out how to get him up there with him not being able to put much weight on his ankle. And then we have an incredible Cirie moment. Jeff kind of says it later on in the episode, but, she's having this moment where she's struggling in a challenge, but she's able to keep going, keep digging, and then she's able to get her team back in the game. Unfortunately, they were a little bit too far behind because the Teal Tribe finishes first, and then the Pink Tribe finishes next, so the Orange Tribe will be going to Tribal Council. But Suri really seems like she's going to be catching some heat for struggling during that challenge, unfortunately. But back at camp, Suri is going through it, feeling she let her tribe down. Jenna's still throwing Suri's name out there, but Ozzy is trying to campaign for Suri and throwing Jenna's name out there. But Christian hears it and says that, Jenna is maybe playing a little too hard too fast, so maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing. Joe takes a step back and is like, why is Ozzy so certain it should be Jenna? He talks about how on his season that Kyle and Camilla, he was kind of duped by them, I guess, if you will. So he's like, wait, take a step back. Are Ozzy and Suri really that close that, he's willing to just say, no, we got to keep Suri, Jenna's name. Jenna's going home. He talks with Savannah, and, they say that we know Jenna's game. She's strategic, but she's all over the place. But what if Ozzy and Suri are working together, as he says, mentioning how he got duped on his season? Devins and Emily talk, and Emily's like, what if we just did Ozzy? And everyone seems to just want to have a consensus on this. We obviously don't get a consensus before we has a tribal, but it seems like it's going to be either Jenna, Suri, or Ozzy. Could be any of those three. And at the first tribal council, Joe talks about kind of what we just mentioned a couple seconds ago, but how he feels Kyle and Camilla have, in his words, wedgied him on his season, coming in with some baggage from that. And Ozzy talks about how he wanted to play a more mature game after looking back at his previous games. And Suri says that there's no place to hide, but if I wanted to hide, I would have just stayed on my couch. So Christian with a nice soliloquy as well, saying Survivor is made up of stories and short stories within it. So they're in the middle of writing the first kind of chapter of this season 50 of Survivor story. But we get into the vote, and it's a unanimous vote besides Jenna's vote for Suri. Jenna goes home. So obviously our representative from the first season of Survivor 25 years ago is unfortunately out first. Definitely a cold exit as well from one of the OGs of the game. Sad to see Jenna go so early, but we knew this season with so many likable and fun survivors on the season that every vote is going to feel tough. And definitely the first vote of the season is a tough one, seeing an OG like Jenna go. But the next morning, Kyle is doing better, but still limping around a bit. Genevieve and Stephanie are looking around, and Genevieve finds something in a log. She loops in Kyle as well, and the first words of it, it's Billie Eilish. So it's the Billie Eilish boomerang idol. So essentially, you have to send it to someone on another tribe, but if they're voted out, it'll boomerang back to you if they're voted out with the idol. So she's going to loop in Stephanie and Colby, because obviously that was a 4 that was working together. But she debates, should she, send it to Tiff? Should she send it to Jonathan? Ozzy, Devins are the names she's talking about. She's like, do you want to send it to someone to build a possible bridge for, later, next parts of the game, a swap, a merge, whatever? Or do you want to send it to someone who you think will get voted out with something in their pocket, so it'll boomerang back to you and you have that power? She's sending it to Ozzy, which, given some conversations from the night prior, I think that's a fairly smart move. Meanwhile, Devins thinks Ozzy's playing an old school game, being the provider and fish and whatnot. So Devins like, you're dispensable, bro. Like, if you don't make sense with my game, you're out of here. But Ozzy finds the idol in his bag. And interesting note from this too is you can't give it to anyone, but it is good all the way till the final 5. Boat shows up. Mike goes on the boat. Savannah goes on the boat. Colby goes on the boat. They all arrive at this island. They have a little talk first. The biggest thing that we see, I don't know how much more they talked, but is Colby asking or talking about to Mike as well how the coach situation went at that challenge. So Colby tells the story that he hears from the journey, and Mike's like, yeah, that's not the story that we heard from Coach, but they just get to it. So they read the sign or the note. 3 people have came, but only 2 people can play. Colby, they draw rocks. Colby and Savannah get the rocks, so Mike heads back without playing. Basically, they're playing a stacking game, and the prize is either you keep your vote or you lose your vote at the next tribal. Colby's doing his part. They build it up fairly high. Colby's falls, so he loses his vote. So they're going to get on their votes. When Savannah's going to get on her boat, they give her a note. And the note is essentially she gets a secret block a vote, and thanks to the fans for voting for dynamic advantages, which I believe that is what I voted for too. So at least we got one vote right with the public. But backtracking a little bit, Colby sees Savannah as someone that he could potentially work with, and Savannah talked about how she loved watching Colby growing up and whatnot, stuff like that too. So cool moment there, but someone that Colby could potentially work with later in the game if they both make it that far. But the secret block of vote obviously is big too because this was after Colby left. So truthfully, no one in the game knows that she got this extra block of vote. But back at camp, Mike is telling the tribe about what Colby said about Coach at the challenge and what happened. Coach is worried, people thinking that he's not playing a game of honor and all this stuff. And honestly, I'm sorry, I just can't. I mean, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I can't. I can't with the honor and integrity and all this stuff. It's Survivor at the end of the day. Like, just stop. Yeah, you get it. But Colby gets back and tells everyone about the challenge, what happened, how he doesn't have a vote. So now Q and Colby don't have a vote at their first tribal council. Savannah tells the tribe everything except for the block a vote, obviously, but she kind of walks away afterwards, and no one really thinks Savannah doesn't have an advantage after that. But Jeff and Medical show up to check on Kyle. They do some tests, and it sounds like the Achilles is ruptured. So him staying in the game could cause long-term damage, and he is unfortunately being pulled, and absolutely sick for him. Not how it's supposed to go, and definitely an emotional moment for sure. Especially I was surprised. I was worried about the winners coming in, Dee, Savannah, and Kyle. But I feel like, Dee, we didn't see a whole lot from Dee this episode. We saw a little bit, but I felt like she was in a good position. And then I do feel like Savannah is in a okay position enough. I don't think going on that journey helped her though, because they now know that she probably has an advantage. But I think Kyle was truthfully in the best position of the winners for sure. But I think Kyle was in one of the best positions of the game. Just 4 short days into this game. But especially him linking up with Genevieve, like I think they were going to be a dangerous duo in this game, and the group that they were forming essentially. So just obviously sick. You go through all that, get out there, and then for something, to happen like this, just a couple short days in and have to be taken out instead of being voted out or, whatnot. Just super, super unfortunate, and definitely feel for Kyle. I hope he gets another chance out here. Because like I said, I know it was still early on, but with how good a position he put himself in, even showing that he was one of the more dominant winners of the new era, and he was able to put himself in that position early on in this game. It was impressive, and would love to see him get another shot out there at a future returning season. But emotional, absolutely got it for him overall. But we get the preview for next week. Looks like Coach is calling out Ozzy at the challenge. And then some pretty interesting scenes. It seems like it's going to be fast and furious, and I think the season as a whole is going to be fast and furious and fast moving. But after all this, I still feel fairly confident. To spoil my preview, preseason video, whatever, I did have Genevieve as my winner. Feel pretty good. I feel like she's in a pretty good, one of the best positions that we've seen from the first episode, which take that with a grain of salt. It's the first episode. But Tiff, I think, is someone that I had in the 4 that I chose at the beginning of the game. I think she's in a fairly good position as well. Questionable about Charlie, who I did have in the 4 as well. Just didn't see much of him. Angelina, kind of same thing. Didn't see a whole lot. So still kind of to be determined on those two. But I do think Rizzo is actually in a decent spot as well. Kind of seemed a little shaky at first, but I think he can find some ground there. Devins and Christian in a strong bromance spot in their tribe as well. Worried for Dee, like I said, was going to be worried about her preseason, just kind of with her reputation coming in as, as the most dominant winner of the new era and one of the most dominant winners of all time. But either way, incredible premiere. And I do think this season is going to live up to, we've heard, multiple people think this is the best season of all time. And Jeff said it a couple times that this is the best season we've done. So I do think this season can live up to it. And if it's anything like the premiere, which I heard Jeff talking about in the red carpet, thing that they premiered tonight too, that, the first episode would be hard to top. I think it was Sophie said that. Jeff's like, they top it. The players top it. So absolutely looking forward to this season. Looking forward to recapping it here all season long. So just make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of those videos. We'll be back next week, next Thursday morning, with a recap of episode 2. So thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.